Virtual reality is custom made for choose your own adventure stories. You can imagine in VR, travel down a particular alleyway or street. At the end of the street, someone pops out and tells you a story. At the end, you get to choose whether to follow him or to follow her. Depending on what decisions you make and what things you like, you can actually affect the outcome. And then you can do the story a number of times. We've been very interested in experimenting with any kind of narrative story where that can work for. We were approached by an agency late last year who were interested in the idea of narrative-driven choose your own adventure stories. They were very interested in live action as opposed to animated, and they wanted to prove to the market that they understood the idea of choose your own adventure stories in VR, and they needed a project that they could actually do themselves. So not a client-driven project, a story-driven project that they could fund themselves to prove how it could work. So the agency that approached us was owned by an Irish guy, and he had this great idea for a St. Patrick's Day VR story. He told us all about the legend of St. Patrick is that he came to Ireland and he rid Ireland of all the snakes, and that's why Ireland has no snakes. So we came up with this story about St. Patrick being in Dublin and leading the snakes out of Ireland, and then as the audience, you've got the choice to follow him or follow somebody else who's got a problem with what he's doing. So first thing we needed to do to make the shoot really feel real was we needed snakes. So the snake handler came with a whole bunch of different snakes. Some were fast, some were slow. We found that they liked actually cruising together and forming kind of like a herd of snakes, lying on top of each other. But we had to sort of wait for them to do the right thing so we could actually capture them. The second challenge of the shoot was very much related to costume, makeup and hair. We were creating characters for a VR world that was set in ancient Dublin. So creating characters that could actually merge and be composited into this kind of world that we were creating needed a lot of attention to detail. That's one of the things about VR. In VR you can get right up close to the characters and you can study all the trimmings of their costumes, and it creates a costume moment that costume makers for film have been waiting for a long time, because the actual finite detail the costumes have to have for it to be authentic is second to none. So it was a very interesting costume challenge and hair and makeup challenge to make the aesthetic of the characters resonate with the world, and especially when you're at close range. So the other thing that's interesting about VR is that in that 360-degree green screen format, there's not really an option to stumble over your lines. There's no retakes. You just do the whole scene. It's like theatre. So in VR, the actors really have to know. They have to know the scene from here to here. If it's a 5-minute scene, they got to know the whole 5 minutes. If they stumble at some point at 2.5 minutes, improvise, finish it out, get it right. So as a result, you get these amazing performances from these actors. Because they're prepared for the fact that it is theatre, it gives them the ability to get a great performance out of themselves. The second plus is that you get it done way faster. Like a shoot with, a 2D shoot with multiple characters having arguments and crisscrossing each other, and the choreography that would be required for, say, a 5-minute scene involving multiple actors could take you all day to shoot that. You've got the wide shot, then you've got the close-up. There's so many different shots you need to get the scene done. In VR, if it's a 5-minute scene on the script, you can get it in 5 minutes if the actors nail it. And what we found was that we'd allow 3 or 4 takes for each scene, and the actors were nailing it in the first take. So what would happen is that I'd give them another take just to kind of make sure we 100% got it. Then I had time for 2 more takes. So what would I do? I'd change the action. So you can actually not only get the scenes shot faster, you can actually end up with double the amount of content, which is great in VR, because if you've got the choose your own adventure thing going on, you can put scene 1 that they nailed in this room as they cruise past the first time. And if they're ever heading back, you put the second scene that they nailed in there. So when they come back, they trigger the same dialogue with the same character presented in a whole new way. And it's like, it creates content moment that can actually work in VR.
Right, come on, my little darlings. Follow St. Patrick. Out we come. Come on. That's right. Out you come. Keep coming. Here. Have a look. Snakes. Snakes, snakes. I summon thee out, you pagan women. Follow me to snake paradise. Come on.